They were seconds away from ending her life when a single voice from the edge of the crowd said, "Stop. If you stay with me until the end of this story, you'll understand why that one word changed an entire town forever, and why the man who spoke it was the last person anyone expected." So before we begin, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us that even in the darkest moments, courage can rise from the most unlikely places. The town of Black Hollow was the kind of place where secrets traveled faster than the wind. Tucked between endless forests and a restless river, it was a community built on tradition, pride, and fear of the unknown. People there trusted what they had always known and distrusted anything that threatened it. And that was why Eliza Harper was kneeling in the town square that cold autumn morning. Eliza was barely 22, with tired brown eyes and hands rough from years of work. She had grown up in Black Hollow, the daughter of a seamstress and a carpenter. After her parents died of fever within months of each other, she survived alone in their small cottage at the edge of town. She was quiet, kept to herself, and spent her evenings reading old medical books her mother had once collected. That, apparently, was her crime. When a mysterious illness began to spread through Black Hollow, fear took hold. Children coughed until their chests burned. The elderly grew weak overnight. Crops rotted early. And when people are afraid, they look for someone to blame. It started with whispers. She walks in the woods alone. She knows strange remedies. She was seen gathering herbs under the full moon. And then someone claimed they saw smoke rising from her chimney at midnight, as if that alone proved she was summoning something dark. The town council, led by Mayor Clayton Reeves, a stern man who valued order above all else, called for her arrest. No real trial. No real evidence. Just fear wrapped in the language of righteousness. And so she knelt in the square, hands bound, the wooden platform beneath her feet creaking in the wind. The executioner stood nearby, axe glinting in the pale sunlight. The crowd watched with a mix of anger and morbid curiosity. Eliza didn't cry. She didn't beg. She only looked at the faces she had known since childhood and wondered how they had become strangers. Mayor Reeves raised his hand to give the signal. And then the voice came. "Stop." The crowd parted as a tall, broad-shouldered figure stepped forward from the edge of the square. He wore a worn leather coat and heavy boots. His beard was thick with streaks of gray, and his eyes were sharp as flint. Everyone in Black Hollow knew him, though few had ever spoken more than a handful of words to him. Rowan Hale, the lonely woodsman. For years, Rowan had lived deep in the forest beyond the river. He came into town only once every few weeks to trade furs and firewood for salt and flour. Children whispered that he spoke to wolves. Adults muttered that he was strange, maybe dangerous. He had no family, no friends, at least none anyone knew of. He had always been a shadow on the edge of their lives. Mayor Reeves frowned. "This does not concern you, Rowan." Rowan's voice was calm but unyielding. "It concerns me enough." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. No one had ever seen the woodsman challenge authority before. Reeves' jaw tightened. "The girl has been judged. She brought misfortune to this town." Rowan's eyes flicked to Eliza. For the first time that morning, something like hope sparked in her chest. "She did not," Rowan said firmly. "And if you carry this out, you will regret it." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Regret? What did he mean?" Reeves scoffed. "And what proof do you have, woodsman? You live like a hermit. You know nothing of our suffering." Rowan stepped closer to the platform. "I know more than you think." He reached into his coat and pulled out a small leather pouch. From it, he withdrew dried herbs, silverleaf and bitterroot. Gasps echoed through the square. The same herbs Eliza had been accused of using for dark rituals. "These cure the fever," Rowan said. "Not cause it." Reeves laughed sharply. "And how would you know that?" Rowan hesitated for just a second. It was a pause so slight that only someone watching closely would notice. Then he straightened. Because I was once a physician. Silence fell like a hammer. The lonely woodsman, a doctor. Reeves blinked. That's absurd. It's the truth, Rowan replied. 25 years ago, before I came here, I studied medicine in the city of Evercrest. I served in military camps during the Northern Plague. I have seen this illness before. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Some scoffed. Others looked uncertain. Eliza stared at him, her heart pounding. She remembered, suddenly, a day months ago when she had ventured deeper into the forest than usual and stumbled upon Rowan's cabin. She had been searching for rare moss when she twisted her ankle on a root. Rowan had found her limping and carried her to his cabin without a word. She had expected roughness, maybe indifference. Instead, he had cleaned her wound with practiced hands and wrapped it expertly. On a dusty shelf, she had seen old medical texts, thick volumes with faded gold lettering. She hadn't questioned it then. Now it all made sense. Mayor Reeves shook his head. Even if you were once a doctor, why hide it? Why live like a recluse? Rowan's gaze darkened. Because the last time I tried to save a town from its own fear, they didn't listen. His voice grew heavier, layered with pain long buried. In Evercrest, when the plague spread, people wanted someone to blame. They accused the poor, the outsiders, the healers. They burned homes instead of seeking answers. I tried to stop them. I failed. Innocent people died, not from disease, but from fear. The crowd shifted again, unease creeping into their anger. I came here to live quietly, Rowan continued. To leave the world's madness behind. But I will not watch it happen again. Reeves' authority was slipping, and he knew it. This is nothing but a story. Rowan turned to the crowd. You want proof? Release her. Give me 3 days. Let me treat the sick with these herbs and proper care. If no one improves, I will leave Black Hollow forever, and you may judge me as you wish. The proposal hung in the air. 3 days. It was a risk. But it was also hope. An elderly woman stepped forward, clutching a handkerchief. My grandson is ill, she said softly. If there's a chance. Others nodded. Desperation outweighed pride. Finally, Reeves lowered his hand. 3 days, he said stiffly. But if this is deception, both of you will answer for it. Eliza's bindings were cut. Her legs nearly gave out as she stood, but Rowan steadied her. Why? She whispered. Because someone once stood up for me, he replied quietly. And I failed them. I won't fail you. Over the next 3 days, Rowan and Eliza worked without rest. They visited every sick household. Rowan taught her how to measure pulse properly, how to recognize dehydration, how to prepare the herbs in correct proportions. She learned quickly, her sharp mind absorbing everything. And slowly, the fever began to break. Children who had been bedridden sat up and asked for soup. The elderly found strength returning to their limbs. Coughs eased. By the end of the 3rd day, hope had replaced hysteria. The town gathered again in the square, but this time, not for an execution. Mayor Reeves stood before them, visibly humbled. It appears, he said slowly, that we were wrong. The words were bitter but necessary. He turned to Eliza. You have our apology. Tears welled in her eyes, not from fear this time, but from release. But the greatest shock was yet to come. As the crowd dispersed, a traveling rider arrived, dust-covered and urgent. He carried a letter sealed with the crest of Evercrest's medical council. Rowan's name was written clearly on it, Dr. Rowan Hale. The rider announced that the council had spent years searching for him. After the Northern Plague, his research and methods had been credited with saving thousands. He had been offered a prestigious position, one he had never claimed. The town stared at the woodsman with new eyes. He wasn't just a hermit. He was a hero who had chosen silence over recognition. Rowan looked at the letter for a long moment, then folded it calmly. "I have no interest in titles," he said. "What matters is what we do now." Black Hollow changed after that. Fear no longer ruled as easily. The townspeople began holding open forums before making decisions. They built a small clinic by the square, and Rowan, alongside Eliza, trained others in basic medicine. Eliza, once nearly executed, became the town's most dedicated healer. And Rowan? He never returned to Evercrest. He remained in Black Hollow, no longer a shadow but a pillar of quiet strength. Years later, when children asked why the clinic bore the name Hale and Harper, their parents would tell them about the day fear almost won, and how one voice from the edge of the crowd stopped it. And here's the truth that lingers long after the story ends: sometimes the person you overlook, the one who walks alone and speaks little, carries the wisdom and courage that can save you. And sometimes, standing up, just once, is enough to change everything. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that courage can come from the most unexpected places, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Because the next story might be the one that reminds you never to stay silent when it matters most.